Hey traders, Christian Fromhertz, Tribeca Trade Group with your end of day recap for Friday, and we'll try to make this quick because it is Friday. You got to get to the bar, have a few drinks after a long week. So, S&P, just have that chart up first. We talked about this hammer bar yesterday. Today was a little bit of a that was the theme of the week. I would call it a challenging, a little bit of a challenging day, challenging week. You had to really kind of just sit and be patient with trades. This morning was a little bit of a same type of pattern of what we saw all week long. So a little bit of frustration, and I'll kind of bring up the IWM chart and bring up the 5 minute and just kind of what I've been noticing all week long, which we've seen this in a bunch of different names, but you had small caps, and this was Wednesday, I believe, try to rally in the beginning of the day, get squashed on the top of value. Then on Thursday, try to get going again. First, maybe 15, 20 minutes of the day. Had a little bit of a bid today and then completely faded. And then we saw this again. We saw this again this morning. But we did actually come back. We were up about 75, 80 basis points in small caps right to the top of value and failed once again. So, that was a theme of the week is no real, little bid was being held. So we started to go down like we did every day kind of in this week in the afternoon. But we did come back. So I would say some positive takeaways from today. Again, we didn't, manage to, small caps did not manage to crazy outperform, but it is the first day. If we go and look at the IWMs here, it's the first day, number one, this week that they finished in the green. So I would take, so while we didn't exactly, you know, uh, just finish, completely rally all the way, through the high of the day, I think it is a small positive that we finished on the highs of the day. This is the first time that we actually outperformed SPY since last Wednesday. So every day this week, it's been pretty much risk off. That's IWM is kind of what I look at. If you've been watching my videos recently, you'll know that I'll talk about the small caps a lot because they're really, once you kind of see them outperform on a day-to-day basis, you know that there's good risk in the market and there's good momentum in the market, and we haven't seen that all week long. So you've just had to sit on your hands, which is what I did for the first half of today because I was familiar with the pattern that we've seen all week long where we start to go up a little bit. I also don't like when we're up that much pre-market. It tells me kind of it's a recipe for disaster when we're up that much. But we held in there, and we managed to finish well off the lows, and I think it could be setting up nicely for next week. Again, there's not. If you go to the I'll just make sure I've got the daily chart on in here. So not a full reclaim of the value area for small caps, but pretty darn near close. So I do like this type of hammer bar that formed on IWM. We'll go back to the S&P just for a second. Again, we kind of turned the corner a little bit. We didn't do it with crazy momentum, but I think we're leaving this on the table. You hear a lot of just over analyzing this tape, and hear a lot. I hear a lot about on CNBC, which a lot of this stuff that's in financial media is noise. But you hear like, what if they don't, if Trump doesn't get done what he needs to get done? I don't really just think it's about that. I think from a technical aspect, we were really overbought here for a couple weeks, and we needed to come off that and do a little bit of price digestion. Again, just the way the market goes, it doesn't stay overbought normally. I mean, this was really out of the ordinary for us to stay overbought like this in the RSI for that long. So we needed to come in from there, and I think that's absolutely normal, and I think that's fun. Unfortunately, talking about things normal and so forth doesn't mean it's easy. Was this an easy trading week? Absolutely not. And when you look back at the week, one of the things that you have to recognize is, do I have enough time in my trades? If you trade options like I do, this is a lesson. We see so much of this like weekly crap that's on the tape in terms of option activity. It's either this week's or that week's, and just high speculative. A lot of events. The you really have to look at the calendar. I see a lot of people on Twitter, they'll talk about, oh my God, there's this many weekly options going up. Well, look at the calendar. Do these guys have an analyst day? Do they have an investor meeting? Because some of the times that's all that's really going on here. So when the market doesn't have momentum, just be a little bit careful with these short dated trades. And everybody talks about, oh, they're buying all these. Look at how many. Look at the volume on these weekly calls. So I try not to get wrapped up in that. You don't. If you do like a stock, you don't have to take such a short dated option, especially when the week is like this, where you're basically just doing some digestion, and you're holding either a March, April, or even a little bit of a May position. It's just going to decay, and it's going to decay rather quickly if you're in an April position at this point, which is going to be front month in about a week. So just be mindful. Give yourself enough time on these trades, and let these trades. You could sit with some trades for a couple days and nothing actually happens. And it's one of the hardest things to do, is just to kind of sit with these positions. But you have to make sure that you're giving yourself enough time in your option expiration for moves to actually take place. There's so many times where that's happened, where I've been in positions, I've really got in at the right point, but you sit there and nothing happens for a couple days, and you get bored and you take the position off, and then the next couple days the name pops, and you're like, why did I take that position off? Because you got impatient and you're too focused on watching every little move in the tape. So anyway, I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent, but the reason why I'm doing so is because this was not an easy week to trade. You basically had to sit on your hands and really be selective taking trades. However, we did see some really nice trades on the. So I mentioned that was kind of in the beginning of the day. It was a bit frustrated, but we saw some nice aggressive call buying. We saw this in LUV, JetBlue, which I think we talked about yesterday. But what a move for JetBlue. I had bought some calls for the catalyst, and I knew what the catalyst was. JetBlue was reporting their sales numbers. The stock has kind of been beaten up over the last few weeks to last, I guess, a little bit more than a month. But real nice order in JetBlue yesterday. There was about 19,000. So again, weekly calls, but you know exactly what they were for. So if you're okay with risking a very small amount of money on a binary event, then you could do it. But if you're looking for like more of a swing trade, um, you know, weeklies are for the purpose of playing binary events. So in any event, JetBlue had their numbers. Also, Southwest did, and Southwest numbers weren't that good. However, we saw a buyer step in twice with a nice big chunky order. Again, this is short dated, so you kind of have to play this as a day trade. But there was the March 56s, I think, first that went up aggressively, and then the 56 and a halves also went up in a nice block. Yeah, it was the 56s, which is what I bought this morning. Right on this, as we saw the price action retake the moving averages here. So I sat long with this and kind of sat with it almost to the very end of the day. So real nice profits in this one. Another one that we bought this morning was Marvell Technologies. We knew that they also had their analyst day today. We've been kind of watching the tape and somebody accumulate some March calls just almost every day in this name, and the open interest climbed and climbed and climbed. So it kind of structured this just as for almost a binary event. I actually went out a little bit longer, and I'm still holding some May 17 calls. I purchased these for 45 cents today. They closed at around 62 and a half. So that was a nice looking trade that I got into just today. I had calls in this name a couple weeks back, but had sold out of them. So this was a nice entry into today. What else? A couple other things that I noticed. Finally, the gold miners got going. I thought they were overdue for a bounce. How many days in a row kind of to the downside, so they actually curled back up. Take a look. I actually started a position in ABX as it reclaimed the 200-day moving average. This is going to be a quick could be a really quick trade for me if it doesn't manage to get higher than that 200-day moving. It did close above the 200-day moving average, but there's not a lot of bumper room with this. If it doesn't maintain this in the beginning of next week, I'm out. The trade that I took yesterday almost by the skin of its teeth. I'm holding on to that one. ECA, it actually looks like it did break the 200-day, or it didn't hold it, but I did not get out of that one. So giving this one, it was close whether or not that was going to happen. And I don't really like, this is an option trade, so I can't trade it after hours. So I'm stuck with that one, even though it did close below the 200-day moving average. I liked how this thing closed yesterday. We did, speaking of, this is a oil exploration and production name. Speaking of those names, we did see a little bit of calls. I did mention yesterday on Twitter, be very mindful of this USO ETF. I know people like to look at this and think that it's straight oil. There is such amount of slippage with USO. If you ever look at the performance between USO and between actual crude, it does not do a good job at tracking it whatsoever. When there's a lot of volatility, sure, you can make some money in it. The one thing that I noticed, and I told subscribers today, is be aware of this VPOC that's sitting down here. Again, it's a version point of control. Why is that important? I explained. I try to always explain what these are because people traders are unfamiliar to this, but it's basically where the short story is it's basically where a lot of buyers and sellers have met up previously before. So point of controls are where all of the volume, the majority of the volume has been centered around in a different time frame. Once you start to get out of a range, price seems to want to gravitate to where the buyers and sellers have previously met up and at least rest there and kind of hang out there for a little bit. And once it kind of revisits it, then sometimes it backs away. So I wouldn't be surprised. We don't have that much far to go, just about another 39 cents or so to hit that. And then maybe we digest. And that kind of makes sense if you look at the chart too. There's also a lot of price digestion back here. So I think that's really where we're going to land in oil. You could speculate however you like if you think it's going to break here, but I think that there will definitely be a kind of pause in here a bit. Again, speculation, but so we did see, again, if you want to really look at USO, there was a July, longer dated calls. So even though I don't like that instrument, the fact that they went longer out rather than this weekly stuff, that it is what it is. Somebody's looking just to speculate on a quick move. So same thing with XLE. XLE did not reclaim the 200-day moving average, but made a little bit of progress back. There was also a nice June. Should be in here someplace. There was a nice June call buyer in that name. So so a little bit of construction. I do like to see when names go down if buyers return or if they're just throwing in a towel. So the fact that we saw a little bit of call buying here is a good signal. Other trades we saw today, this Micron has been a name that the price action has been a little funky, I would call it, this week. It's tried to go higher like today. So I started a trade in Micron today. I was lucky enough to hit a target up here, but it's been selling off. Just like a lot of names, and when we talked about in the beginning of this video, a lot of names have been doing this week where you started higher and you weren't able to hold a bid. But call buyers seem to be coming in every time it goes down. So I'm long that name as well. Amgen, nice call buyer in this name today. There was also, we talked about the LUV trades. There was a nice Cisco buyer going out to July. So this is progress. We didn't see too much of this. Like especially yesterday, you could see the quantity of orders, and most of them were really short dated, except for a couple trades. But I like when traders are going out a little bit further and putting a little bit more than, uh, call it, a casino reference rather than like a $10 chip that people are putting down on these weeklies. Somebody putting down like a nice 100 chip on a spot. And that tells me that there's conviction if people are going a little bit longer term on some trades and think that things are going to move over time. There was also a CL order. We do see a lot of activity in Colgate. Seems to be also a spec name that something's going to happen in that name. They've been right a little bit and they've been wrong in this name as well. So Mattel, there was also an April call buyer as well today. I did not take that one. I mentioned Cisco. So a couple other trades. There was a really aggressive call buyer early in the morning in Palo Alto, which has been recovering a bit. Facebook, some calls in that one. calls in Qualcomm as well in the beginning of the day. We also saw a call buyer of, I think it's K. I think they increased the open interest, but I won't be able to check that until Monday. But it appears to be a nice buyer in the coal ETF. Not something that you see that often. This one has also been kind of digesting move, big move up earlier in 2016, but it's been moving down here a little bit. So maybe one to keep an eye on. That's the KOL coal ETF. So that's it for today's video. I went a little bit longer than I thought I would, but hope you are enjoying these videos, and thank you very much for watching, and have a great weekend. Thanks.